All right, testing. Okay. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Cool Beans Hot Stuff. Today is Wildlife Wednesdays. Hold on, let me good old fuck with this microphone. There we go. Okay. Today is Wildlife Wednesdays, which means we're going to do a stream about some sort of wildlife nature related topic. And today I picked out of the blue for some reason, I don't know why, but it sounded cool, I guess, mysterious natural phenomenon, right? Or phenomena. I don't know how to say it. I don't know if it's phenomenon, phenomena, whatever it is. We're going to talk about it. Um I picked a handful of naturally occurring mysterious things that happen in the world that we don't have any explanation for. So I thought that'd be kind of fun. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and do today. The Wildlife Wednesday streams are like kind of like my down day. I don't know if it's because it's Wednesday and it's hump day or whatever they call it. Do people still call it that? It's like the middle of the week and you're kind of like, yeah, whatever. Um, I do notice that they don't get nearly as many hits on my YouTube channel, except for the giant spider one I did. I did one on giant spiders, and that one seems to be getting a whole bunch of hits. Um, so that's good. Oh, I did get my first dislike today on YouTube. So that's a milestone. I'm pretty excited about that. I might clip that, screenshot that, post that shit on the wall. So that's good. At least people are watching my shit. If you are watching this on YouTube, because I just checked the stream and I think my cutie pie is the only one watching me right now. So hey, cutie pie, hope you're enjoying your dinner. Um, and if you're seeing this on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. If you like the show and the content, then please consider liking and subscribing. Helps the channel out. And maybe consider even coming over to Twitch and coming and hanging out with me while I'm streaming. Right, kind of the whole point. I did the live stream instead of YouTube was one, admittedly, I'm a little too lazy to sit and do editing on YouTube videos all day long. I do have DaVinci, the software for video editing, which is pretty easy to use, so it wouldn't be horrible. But I'm not a video guy. I didn't go to school for that. I went to school for audio editing, and I'm really good at that. But video editing is not my forte, man. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of work, dude. All these YouTubers who are putting out these uh, videos as content that's like putting all these clips and shit together, they do a really good job, dude. And they put a lot of work into it. And I didn't want to put that much work into it. I got, a couple hours a day that I wanted to put into it. And I was like, well, live streaming would probably be a little bit easier. But two would be a lot funner. Eventually, if you could find an audience for people who were interested in this kind of stuff that wanted to sit and bullshit and talk about it as we're kind of going over whatever it is I'm going over that day, that would be probably the funnest, right? To sit and have people to chat to and bullshit with. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you enjoy it and you got a Twitch channel, head over to Twitch and come hang out with me and chat while we're going over these topics. So yeah, back to the topic. Today, Wildlife Wednesday. Yeah, I'm kind of excited about this one. Usually the Wildlife Wednesdays are kind of like kind of like whatever to me, they're fun, it's cool, but it can get a little tiresome to talk about animals for like 2 whole hours. So I was kind of thinking of maybe switching it up, but I did have some really good wildlife orientated episodes I wanted to get through that I've already done research on and already set up. So that's what we're going to go over today. This one was one of the funner ones that I had. So yeah, I don't know if anybody knows what I mean when I say mysterious natural phenomenon, but it turns out there's a whole bunch of crazy shit happening out in the world that scientists can't really explain, right? Which I mean, kind of makes sense. You would assume that you would have at least a few things science can't explain, right? Science can't explain everything. It can make an educated guess a lot of times, but as far as like factually knowing, like, oh no, this is what's happening out in the world. Um, yeah, it's there's a few more than a few of them actually. And so I picked out what I thought were some of the coolest ones to share with you guys and give you my thoughts on. We got some pretty good ones. We got the dancing forest here, as you can see on my screen. What was this one? The Hesdallen Lights is kind of fucking crazy. We got Hesdallen Lights. We got Dark Matter, Boiling River in the Amazon. Um, I forgot what this one. That was, oh, ball lightning. Uh, ball lightning star jelly, which looks like star snot. I think they even call it like space snot. Look at that. It's like somebody just hocked a big loogie on that tree stump there. That's not what that is, though. Scientists are baffled by this. And fairy rings. So if you don't know what any of those things are, then stay tuned. We're going to talk about all of them. And I got some good videos for you guys to watch that I found and some interesting articles trying to explain each subject to the best of their ability. So I got a few of them. So let's go ahead and jump into it then. This first one that we're going to check out is the Dancing Forest. This is in Russia. I only know that because it says it on my screen. It'll tell you exactly where at in Russia. We're going to watch this video first on it, give you a good intro to it. This is World in Pics. Pretty small channel, only 191 subscribers, so I'm going to give them a subscribe and a like, because this was a decent video. But yeah, let's check out the Dancing Forest, see what they have to say.
In the place where the Baltic Sea and the Curon Lagoon are separated, there is a fine sand dune stretching 98 kilometers. In the southern part of the place called the Crown Language, which corresponds to the Kaliningrad Oblast, you see the Dancing Forest. For anyone who has never witnessed trees dancing before, there is a surprise.
This is definitely an AI voice, right? I'm pretty positive this is AI voice. I don't know why people do that. I don't like the AI voices as much as I just like regular folks talking into a microphone. Particularly this one. This one's like super robotic. They have those AI voices nowadays that you couldn't fucking tell the difference even if you wanted. But yeah, interesting. Anyways, I didn't realize a lot of YouTubers were doing that nowadays. But yeah, look at these fucking trees. Fuck the AI voice. Check out these trees. Aren't those crazy? That's pretty wild. That is, and supposedly scientists have no idea why they do this.
View here, the trunks of the trees in the Dancing Forest curl up slightly above the ground, twist, break and stretch to the sky. Dancing Forest consists of trees planted in 1961 to consolidate the sand in the region. These strange shapes that occur in the trunk of the trees are still mysterious. But of course there are both supernatural and scientific theories about the event. The most sought-after theory suggests that the trees are damaged by the caterpillars of the Rhizonia boleana butterfly during the growth phase, and therefore take such strange shapes. These caterpillars often attack young pine trees that grow on low nutritional soils. Just like in this region, Dancing Forest attracts those who love mysterious stories because it has a rare appearance. One of the supernatural comments brought to the event is that this forest is a place where positive and negative energies collide. Accordingly, the plus and minus powers play here in the shape of the trees. Other than that, there are those who think that the trees follow the movement of the sand at their own will. Local legends are not limited to these. According to one legend, centuries ago, the trees in this forest were danced to prove the power of God and took this shape. This rare natural phenomenon in Russia seems to protect its mystery for a while. Aside from how she got this look, the best part of the Dancing Forest is that she can imagine trees dancing for a moment.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Dancing Forest. I can kind of understand why this channel's a little bit lower on the subscribe side. I think doing the AI voice saying, I don't know, kind of throws people off. That is pretty wild, though. It's a fucking caterpillar. Like, or that's like the leading theory for why these trees are all fucked up, because some caterpillar got inside of them or started eating them or whatever. That's kind of crazy. Interesting. Okay, let's read what these people have to say about it, though. This is the Science Time, right? They sound smart. They got science in their name. They probably know what's going on. Let's listen. So, mysterious dancing forest. On the Curonian Spit in Kaliningrad, Russia, lies a small patch of pine forest that measures only 800 square meters. This national park, recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, lies between the Baltic Sea and the Curonian Lagoon. One of the most remarkable features of this forest is its strange geological makeup. The Curonian Spit is a narrow strip of land formed by the movement of sand dunes and glacial deposits. The soil in this region is also very porous and contains a high concentration of sand and clay. This unusual feature has led to developing a unique ecosystem with various plants and animals. So it's a pretty rare little chunk of land, anyways. Let's see. The trees in this forest were planted in the 1960s to stabilize the sand dunes in the area before World War II. The site accommodated a Nazi German gliding school. Because of the strange appearance of the trees, the site has gained its title as the Dancing Forest. Unlike drunken trees, the trees in this dancing forest, drunken trees? Is that a thing? Yeah, I read that. Unlike drunken trees, huh? The trees in the dancing forest are twisted into different patterns. Some trees form knots, loops, hearts, and even convoluted spirals that bend to the ground. In other trees, the trunks are curved and bent, and some are even twisted or curled into a ring stretching upward to find their way to the sky. These patterns give the impression that the trees are dancing. I always hate these like photos like this. Like that is a disturbing photo. I know it's like an ad, but it's like, oh God, why do you got to put such weird shit in your ads? Theories behind the unusual tree formation. Over the years, the dancing forest has been the subject of scientific studies and speculations. Many scientific studies have been done to unveil the cause of the tree morphing, but the findings have always been inconclusive. Some experts conclude that the strange tree shapes result from several combined factors. Nonetheless, the exact cause of the distortion of the trees remains unknown, which is why we're talking about it today, right? Mysterious natural phenomenon. One theory suggests that pine shoot moth caterpillars damage the trees at an early age, causing them to start growing with unusual shapes with odd angles. Experts believe that the caterpillars of the butterfly Rhyosonia Bologna, we're going to call it Rhyosonia Bologna, eat the developing apical and lateral buds of the pine trees. Once the apical buds of the tree is destroyed, growth only occurs with its less damaged lateral buds. Since these plants need sunlight, they correct themselves as they grow taller, but their strange shapes remain their characteristic feature. Oh, so that's how they do it. Okay. Yeah, they didn't really explain how the caterpillars fuck the trees up, but there's a little bit better explanation. Some people believe the trees in this forest are trained to grow that way. Humans have learned to manipulate trees for commercial or aesthetic purposes. A young tree can be trained to grow in unconventional ways by laying a heavy object on its trunk for an extended period. Just like any other plant, these trees will grow towards the sun in a process called phototropism. Whether these plants are made to bend intentionally or not, the effects of phototropism can change the characteristics of their tissue. Yeah, we'll look up some uh, pictures of that because it is pretty crazy the kind of shapes people have gotten trees into. Oh, look, there's that video we watched. This is probably the site I got it from. There's some pretty crazy shapes that people have grown trees into, like full-fledged hearts and all kinds of shit. By putting like glass around the trunk when it's starting to grow. We'll look into it. According to the folk version, the mystery of the dancing forest likely has a geological cause. The trees seem to follow the sand's movement, making the soil unstable. A widely accepted view suggests that the growing trees in this forest are manipulated by strong winds that regularly blow in the area. Another hypothesis is that the morphing of the trees is the result of seismic activity or the presence of underground water sources. For others, it could be due to nuclear radiation or geomagnetic solid fields. Geomagnetic solid fields. So there's a handful of the theories they have regarding the dancing forest. Let's take a look at some of those. Let's do crazy tree shapes. See if it pops. So, oh, whoa, that is a crazy shape. The many ways to shape a tree. Okay, well, so there you go. That's a image right there, or an example of people who apparently shaped the trees this way. Like, look how fucking crazy that is. That's wild. They probably didn't do something with that. Okay, that's tree faces decor. That's pretty crazy. Look at that. So see, you can do all kinds of crazy shit with trees. Um, I don't know exactly how they do that, but there's your X-rated tree growth right there. 63 trees that look like something else. Sometimes these lists are fun. Wow, that's crazy. Nah, I feel like that's got to be AI, right? That totally. I mean, yeah, the old man with the beard. That looks like AI. I don't know about that. Oh, that's Devil Tree. See, that could have been something because sometimes, this looks like unbelievable, but this is what I'm talking about. People will take glass, like it's sort of like a mold, a glass mold. When the tree is really young, they'll put the glass mold over it. The tree will grow in to fill the glass, and then they'll just tip it with hit it with a hammer and break it, and then you have this tree shape. So that looks like something that I don't know how they make the horny tree. I got to be honest, that one I'm at a loss for, but a horny little tree. Oh, that's kind of crazy. Tree Rex. Kind of does look like a T Rex. Little tiny arms right here. Little baby arms. His feet. Wow, that does look. Holy shit. Owl. I don't know if I believe. A big old butt. Yeah. Wow, that's kind of. I don't know what's going on there, but it's disturbing for sure. Mr. Big Ass Tree welcomes a child's big ass hug. Oh, he's smiling. That's like Groot when he's super old. Okay, but yeah, you can kind of see how people can take and all right, now we're just getting dirty. Damn, geez, just turned into X-rated fucking stream over. Sheesh. Wow. Is that intriguing? Is that the process that I'm thinking of? Intriguing? Well, fuck you. There's your dancing trees right there. And I actually saw something about this on a YouTube video. These crazy trees. I forget what they're called. Is those dragon trees? I think those are dragon trees. Actually. Yeah, look at that. That's pretty crazy. And yeah, see, this is the kind of stuff you would think that this is made up like AI, but you can do much crazier shit than that with these trees, right? Like literally make them look like they're knotted. Here's another one, shaping ideas for trees. Look at that. That's crazy. And I think these ones, oh, we just had one. See, there you go. See, they just put a little table right there in the middle of it. With these ones, I think you actually put something, like they said, put something heavy on the tree and it'll grow around it. Really interesting, though. So that's what they mean when they are saying that the dancing trees, the forest of dancing trees, this guy that we were talking about, uh, that's what they think somebody shaped them. But, you know, why that shape? And in every direction. That's the thing. Like, it's every single tree shaped in the same direction. They kind of look like pipes, right? You can kind of like just pull it out and smoke it from this end over here. That's pretty extreme. Yeah, I don't know about people shaping it. Caterpillars, maybe. Caterpillars, what was the other one? Wind. I don't think wind can do that to a tree. I mean, I'm not like a fucking wind scientist or nothing, but last I checked, wind can't push trees. And I'm from Wyoming. We got a lot of fucking wind out in Wyoming, and I ain't never seen no trees like that. So when they said geomagnetic something or another, and there was another one in there, geomagnetic something, groundwater, and something else. Uh, Geomagnetic solid fields. I don't know what that is. Or nuclear radiation. Well, we don't know. That's what makes it fun. Once they figure it out, it's going to kind of be a bummer, right? We're going to be like, oh, because it's probably not going to be something super amazing, right? It's going to be like, oh, they grow this way. Well, because of the wind, right? Yeah, the wind just pushes them. Like, what? Well, that's a fucking boring as fuck. But in the meantime, it's a cool little mystery. So we're going to move on to the Hesdalen lights. This one's pretty wild and pretty famous too. The Dancing Forest, they don't have a lot of YouTube videos on that one. Not as famous as the Hesdalen Lights. This one, like, there's so much information about the Hesdalen Lights that it's hard to pick what web pages I even wanted to show because, like, there's so many YouTube videos talking about it and all kinds of shit. But I haven't even heard of it neither. This is the first time I've even heard of the Hesdalen Lights. So this is new to me. I'm learning about it with you guys. So let's check it out. The Hesdalen Valley of Norway, just 15 kilometers across, low population density. Why is there a blue box perched high up on the hillside with cameras covering the valley? What's going on in this secluded valley? The lights of Hesdalen in Norway started appearing late 1981 when Age and Mary Moe, Rut Mary Moe, that's quite a name. This is Norway? Is that like a regular Norway name? Rut? Describe seeing a burning fireball in the evening sky. The Hesdalen light phenomenon. Yeah, that's one thing about the Hesdalen lights is the pictures don't do it justice, right? Like, I mean, this is what it is. You can see the people right here. Does this make it bigger? No, I don't think so. Um, yeah, no, we're just getting crazy with it. Um, yeah, you can see the people here with the car parked with the cars, and then these are the lights themselves in the sky doing this crazy shit. But pictures don't look like anything, right? Like you would look at a picture of that. I don't know why, but I feel like is that like a amoeba or a protozoa? Something tiny and small that I don't really care about. I don't know, but it's big ball of light that's like flapping through the air is what it is, right? So there are a lot of sightings of this unexplained luminous phenomenon. Local people reported seeing the Hesdalen lights down in the valley, sometimes close to their houses. Some residents were frightened and initially subject to ridicule. At its peak, there were about 20 sightings a week. Hesdalen lights in the media. What could this strange aerial light phenomenon be? No one could answer that question. The Hesdalen light phenomenon soon became known to the broader public thanks to newspaper articles, magazines, and photographic media internationally. People arrived in the valley hoping to see the lights for themselves, and many of them did. When did this all take place? I feel like they didn't tell us that, right? I mean, this was written in 2023. Oh, appearing late 1981. Okay, so before I was even born. That makes me feel young. Good. I can feel some of my gray hairs slowly going away. 1984 Project Hesdalen. The phenomenon in Hesdalen was investigated for the first time with magnetometric. Oof, geez balls, that was intense. Magnetometric, radiometric, and radar instrumentation in 1984 by Erling Strand and his team. Okay. During the first decade, many strange photographs were taken of the Hesdalen light phenomenon. So yeah, this lasted for a long time. I don't know if it's still going on. The fastest speed for the Hesdalen lights ever recorded was 30,000 kilometers an hour. I don't know, 3,000 kilometers an hour. Well, that's pretty intense. The lights were difficult to capture on film due to long distances and rapid movements in the dark. Even on short exposure, times down to 1/100th of a second. The photography shutter speed or exposure time is the length of time that the film or digital sensor inside the camera is exposed to light. That is when the camera's shutter is open when taking a photograph. The amount of light that reaches the film or image sensor is proportional to the exposure time. 1/500th of a second will let half as much light in as 1/250. Okay, so 1/100th is pretty fast. What kind of lights would behave in this way night after night in this remote environment? So, eliminating the impossible. Many efforts were made to explain the light phenomenon. Could it be aeroplanes or the light from a distant railroad reflected in the sky? Or maybe a form of ball lightning? We'll get into that here in a minute. That's a whole nother thing. Or was it satellites, planets, or meteors? But the speed and the way the Hesdalen lights moved, often beneath the treetops, eliminated all such explanation. The phenomenon remained unexplained. Here they categorize the Hesdalen lights. They have three main categories. One is the rapid sparkles. These are often difficult to see, observe because of the short time window in which they appear, but they are caught on film. Another category is the large phenomenon, balls of light drifting down around for hours. And the third category is when there are several points of light gathered together. In other types of phenomenon not seen so often, these these are other types, so special cases. So there's other types of phenomenon not seen often. Their looks and behaviors are quite random within the previously stated categories. This makes it rather difficult to explain what they are. So those are the, let's see, first measurements of them. Let's see, scientific apparatus. So that's the blue box that they're talking about. I need to, there it is. Okay, nice. Blue box on the hill. Hesdalin AMS. And now you figured out how to blow it up. Now how to, okay, there we go. Electromagnetic measuring equipment, low frequency radio receivers with cameras and radar were mounted on a proper site with a good overview. The equipment used was a spectrometer, seismograph, radar, spectrum analyzer, magnetometer, laser, Geiger counter, infrared viewer. So let's see. During the first winter, 53 observations were made over a month. So these things, like they said, they'll go on for hours sometimes. So these lights will just flippity floop flop, doing gymnastics through the sky for hours on end, 53 times in 1 month. These reports were so astonishing that they even drew the interest of one of the world's foremost UFO researchers at the time, the late Dr. J. Allen Hynek, U.S. Air Force former scientific advisor for Project Blue Book, visited Hasdelin to see for himself. So, observing the Hasdelin lights, despite eyewitness reports, there was, hold on a sec, I'm making sure. This is what I was kind of looking at. Okay, possible explanations is what I was looking for. Because we got a video we'll watch that'll go over a lot of this. It's a good 5-minute long video from the Unexplained Zone. Decent sized channel, pretty good video. But we're going to look into possible explanations. So, the flywheel principle. A rotating mechanism that holds a light orb together and delivers continuous energy formed an integral part of the new ball lightning model being proposed. The energy and momentum stored in this diality flywheel are central to it, giving the ball lightning its longevity. In addition, it would operate to maintain the size of the ball over its luminous lifetime. At the same time, this mechanism catalyzes the release of the energy that results in the luminosity. Once formed, the ball lightning of this model does not depend upon any external power source. Hence, it has no need to attach itself to anything for sustenance, as happens with St. Elmo's fire. Ball lightning pushed by plasma tail against the wind. Vapor trail washed out by the... Okay, so see, there's the ball lightning leaving a little trail through the thing. Kind of looks a lot like the Hesdelin lights. Let's see. Ball lightning motion will be dictated by the electrostatic forces deriving from the charge imbalance and radial currents resulting from proton decay. Since the ball lightning is a coherent but detached entity, it does not need to follow the motion of the local air. I hope a lot of you are following along, because I have no idea what any of that is actually saying. Let's see. They got a monitoring station in 1998, so this has been going on for over a decade. Research at Hesdelin entered a new phase that was to prove historic. Supported by Ostfold University College, the world's first 24/7 observatory for light phenomenon was established in Hesdelin. With generous help from one of the local farmers, a large, well-equipped container was placed on one side of the valley. Radar and instruments for measuring electromagnetic noises run continuously along with video recorders that are activated as soon as any unusual aerial movement is detected. Excitement was running high. It would now be possible to capture the Hesdelin light phenomenon on these new instruments. So, after a year-long wait, it finally happened. The Hesdelin phenomenon was caught on camera. The footage brought the Hesdelin research to a new era. So, there it is, a fireball. Okay. Zooming in and slowing down the film shows something really astonishing. A second light seems to appear from underneath, joining the main light. How could this be interpreted? Sci-fi. Yeah, it kind of does look like my logo, right? It's like a little version of me. We just take it, put little sunglasses on. It's like, hey, there's Cool Beans Hot Stuff. All the way in Norway. So zooming, oh yeah, we already read that. Okay, international scientific collaboration with SETI at the Medicina Radio Astronomical Station near Bologna, Italy. I'm going to say Bologna, Italy. The scientists are scanning the universe for signs of intelligent life for the SETI program. After reading about the unexplained light phenomenon in Norway, an Italian team traveled to Hesdalen and had their own experience. In 2000 and 2002, the joint research of EMBLA project aimed to study the electromagnetic behavior of the unexplained recurrent luminous phenomena in Hesdalen using sophisticated radio receivers and spectrometers. Let's see. Okay, so compared to 1984, monthly incidence of Hesdalen light phenomenon had sensibly decreased around the period of 1998 to 2000. Nevertheless, the EMBLA researchers came back to Italy with a big amount of radio data, also having the opportunity of citing anomalous light phenomena repeatedly. If anyone can determine what physics are at work behind the Hesdalen light phenomena, they can be crossed off the list of the unexplainable. So then mapping up local radio emissions was a part of this, I guess. There's them with more advanced stuff. And yeah, that's about it. The scientific data are quite sensational. We are dealing with a real phenomenon that can be observed and studied and measured, even though it is difficult. But why is it happening in Hesdalen? That is pretty crazy. Yeah. So they don't even really have any good ideas of what it is, or at least not according to this article. Let's watch this video and see if they can tell us a bit more. Yeah. Okay. Let's check it out. Maybe they have some cool footage of the lights too.
My name is Erling Strand. I'm an assistant professor at the Østfold University College in Norway. My teaching is physics and chemistry. I'm also very keen on doing a project which is called Project Hesdalen, which goes on to study some strange phenomena. It started back in 1981 up in the Hesdalen Valley. It's a small valley in the southern Norway where the
Really pretty too. I've always heard Norway is really beautiful, but that's really pretty. Look at that. Very peaceful looking, right?
1981 up
Until those big giant lights come flying through your house, fuck your shit up.
in the Hesdalen Valley. It's a small valley in the southern Norway where the inhabitants up there started to see these strange lights moving around their houses close to the ground. Actually, it's not correct to say started, because we have found in 1900 5 stories, in 1800 a couple of stories. Even before 1800 we have found something in some local history writing, but the high intensity with up to 20 observations a week started late 1981. That lasted for 2 or 3 years. I went up there for my first time in September 1982, and I was standing out in the mountain together with some friends, and we saw this huge light in the mountainside, and then I knew there was a real phenomenon. Before that, most people didn't take it seriously. You have scientists who ridiculed the whole thing. We thought, why isn't there any research? Well, maybe we can do it. So we started what we called Project Hesdalen to first of all find some more data. It's possible to measure, so it is really something up there. Some lights, you see a big flash and then it's gone. These flashes, normally when they start, more of them are coming. Also another type is balls of light. It can stand still for minutes on one location. It can move slowly and it can move very fast. No sound. So is it several different things, or is it one answer on what it is? It's very easy to think that it must be one thing which do all this because it happened in one place. such a small valley and everything is happening up there. We had a long power line to our field station, which was standing up in the mountains. And normally it was working very perfectly, but sometimes the power disappeared. And it seems that this disappearing happened when the phenomena was coming. What is it? What's so specific with Hessdalen? Natural battery theory is one theory, because the mountains in the east has a lot of copper in it. The mountains in the west has more iron. And if you bring these elements together, you get a battery. But the problem with that theory is that the voltage is depending on the elements which make up this battery. And with the elements we have, it's only...
Look at that. I mean, the Hessdalen lights are cool and all, but fuck, dude. Like, I'd go to Norway just to see that. That's beautiful. That's so cool.
Maybe 1 volt. And that's too little to be able to create these lights. When you have studied so much and you haven't found any answer which lies inside ordinary known physics, it must be something new. There's much more between heaven and earth than we know of today. And when we get more knowledge about our universe or earth, maybe we can use that knowledge so we can maybe treat our world better.
I like that guy's accent. It was dope. Seems like a nice, friendly old Norwegian. Norwegian? Is that what you'd call him? Anyway, so that's the Hessdalen lights. Pretty crazy shit, right? There's a lot of info out there on them, but yeah, they still don't know what they are. Here, I was gonna Google. Are they still active? Yeah, still being observed in the Hessdalen Valley, but the frequency has decreased to about 20 observations a year. They are most frequent during the dark winter months, particularly between December and February. Wow, so sounds like they began to dwindle around 2010. Only 10 to 20 sightings a year. That's pretty crazy. Wonder what that is. That's so wild. Well, there you have it, though. Hessdalen lights. So I think Hessdalen lights cooler than the Dancing Forest. But this next one, this was a quick one, I think. Yeah, we move on pretty quickly from this, but it's an interesting one. I had to throw it in there, right? Because you always hear about dark matter. Everybody hears about dark. And it turns out that we don't know what the fuck it actually is, which I didn't know that when I was researching natural phenomenon, topics for this stream, and dark matter popped up. I was like, oh, they don't know what that is? Like, you hear about it all the time. I thought that was like a thing. Everybody was like, oh yeah, dark matter. I got a whole bunch of that at home sitting in a jar. But no, turns out they don't even know what the hell it is. So let's see what they think it might be, right? So dark matter makes up a large portion of the universe, but we've never seen it. Here's what we know. Yeah, it turns out we haven't even seen it. So how do we know it? That's what it is. That it's even a thing, That's crazy. That blew my mind. So, more than 80% of the universe's matter is invisible, and we don't know what it is. The mysterious substance known as dark matter doesn't emit or reflect light, making it impossible to see directly. But without it, galaxies would fly apart. Here's what scientists know or think they know about this cosmic puzzle. So, dark matter is an invisible, mysterious substance that makes up more than 80% of the matter in the universe, but scientists aren't sure what it is. That's so crazy. That's like when you hear statistics like we still haven't studied 80% of the ocean or whatever. I don't know if that's like the actual number, if that's even true, but I've heard that, right? Like, yeah, oh no, 80% of the ocean's still undiscovered. It's like, wow, dude, that's fucking crazy, man. If that's the case, and there's definitely like a fucking megalodon down there or some shit, right? So they got this substance that's 80% of the universe and they don't know what it is. While it doesn't emit, absorb, or reflect light, we know dark matter exists because of the way its gravity affects visible matter. Oh, that's how they know. Okay. Galaxies rotate faster than they should based on the mass we can see, and large scale structures in the universe form in patterns that only make sense if there's much more matter out there than meets the eye. That's kind of wild to wrap your head around. Dark matter may hold the key to understanding how galaxies form, how the universe evolved, and even what's made of the deepest level. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Hold on one sec. Human noises. Dark matter doesn't interact with light, so we can't see it directly. Instead, scientists detect its presence through its gravitational influence on invisible objects. Here are some key lines of evidence for dark matter. 1. Galaxy rotation curves. When astronomers measure how fast stars orbit the centers of galaxies, they find something strange. The stars at the edges of galaxies are moving much faster than they should be if only visible matter were present. This suggests that something unseen, possibly dark matter, is adding to the galaxy's mass and keeping those stars from flying off into space. I don't exactly understand a lot of this. I'm not a physicist, right? So I'm kind of like, okay, bro, if you say so. Gravitational lensing. Oh, this sounds even more difficult to understand. Okay, according to Einstein's theory of general relativity, massive objects can bend the path of light. When light from distant galaxies travels towards us, it sometimes passes near invisible clumps of dark matter, which warp the light's path in a phenomenon called gravitational lensing. Oh, okay, well, I understand that. That's not so difficult. By studying how light is distorted by galaxy clusters, astronomers have been able to create a map of dark matter in the universe. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so the cosmic microwave backgrounds. The CMB is the leftover radiation from the Big Bang, and it contains tiny temperature fluctuations that reveal how matter was distributed in the early universe. The pattern of these fluctuations only makes sense if dark matter was already present, influencing how ordinary matter clumped together. That's so crazy. That blows my mind that scientists know how to do this shit, right? That's so fucking wild. Like I would never want that job, right? To like study this stuff is like too big brain and super boring for me. But, I'm much happier just running a Twitch channel. But fuck, that's so crazy that people study and figure that shit out, man. That's wild. Large scale structure of the universe. Computer simulations of the universe's evolution show that galaxies and galaxy clusters form the way they do only if there's a huge amount of dark matter. Without it, structures would be much smaller and more scattered. Despite decades of study, scientists still don't know exactly what dark matter is made of. They do know it's not made of ordinary atoms, the same kind of matter that makes up stars, planets, and people. That kind of matter is called baryonic, and dark matter appears to be non baryonic. I got a fucking eyelash all up in my shit, like threatening to poke my eyeball. Okay, we got it. Here are some of the leading candidates for what dark matter might be. WIMPs. Oh, it's wimpy. That's a bummer. Weakly interacting massive particles. These hypothetical particles are among the top contenders. They would have mass and interact via gravity and possibly the weak nuclear force, but not with light or electromagnetism, which would make them invisible. Large underground detectors have been trying to catch one of these elusive particles in action, but so far, no luck. Interesting. I wonder if those large underground detectors are the Large Hadron Collider. Has anything to do with that. If you don't know what that is, check out. I got a video up on YouTube. I think it was like the first conspiracy theory video I ever did on the Large Hadron Collider because it has a bunch of crazy conspiracies attached to it. But outside of the conspiracy theories, it is actually pretty cool what they're doing. How they're taking atoms and splitting them apart and then studying what comes out of them. So they might be trying. I know that they are, or they can theoretically make black holes using the Large Hadron Collider. They're supposedly building an even bigger Large Hadron Collider, which will be able to make bigger black holes that last longer, which freaks out a bunch of people, including Stephen Hawkins, is freaked out by that and says that's really dumb. And we should probably listen to that guy because he's pretty smart. If he says something dumb, then, it's probably pretty fucking stupid. But they're doing it anyways because they, and that this black hole thing might have something to do with dark matter. Will dive into black holes here in a second. But dark matter is another thing. So another theory is that they are axions. Axions are ultra-light particles that could exist in large numbers and act like a cold, invisible fluid throughout space. They're another strong candidate for dark matter, especially since they might help solve other physics puzzles, such as the strong CP problem in particle physics. I don't know what that is. We're not going to look into it. It's probably something that I wouldn't understand, even if you explained it to me like a 5-year-old, right? Sterile neutrinos. Neutrinos are ghostly particles that barely interact with matter. Sterile neutrinos would be even more elusive than regular neutrinos, and if they exist, they could account for some or all of dark matter. In primordial black holes, some scientists have considered that dark matter could be made of tiny black holes formed in the early universe. These would be small and difficult to detect, but they remain a long shot possibility. Could it be gravity that is wrong? A few researchers have proposed that dark matter doesn't exist at all. Instead, maybe our understanding of gravity breaks down at large scales. One of the most prominent alternate theories is called modified Newtonian dynamics, or MOND. It adjusts how gravity behaves at very low accelerations, like those on the outskirts of galaxies. However, MOND and similar theories struggle to explain all of the evidence, especially the detailed patterns in the cosmic microwave background and gravitational lensing. That's why most scientists still think dark matter is a real substance, one we just haven't been able to detect directly yet. That's pretty crazy. And then here we have, let's see, Q&A with dark matter with Glenn Starkman, Distinguished University Professor and Co-Chair of Physics and Professor of Astronomy. Okay, smart guy here. So, does dark matter exist? I wish I knew. What we do know is that if we look at a typical galaxy, take account for all the matter that we see, stars, gas, and dust, and use Newton's laws of gravity and motion, or more correctly, Einstein's general relativity, to try to describe the motions of that material, then we get the wrong answer. The objects in galaxies are moving too fast. There should not be enough gravity to keep them from flying out of the galaxy that they're in. The same thing is true about galaxies moving around in clusters. Okay. I don't know why, but it kind of clicked, right? Mr. Fancy Pants here made it finally click for me. So they're saying that if we took all of the mass of all the things that exist in our galaxy, because, right, mass creates gravity, right? That's what keeps us stuck on the surface of Earth is the fact that Earth is so big. Earth being big means it creates a gravitational pull, which forces things to stay on its surface instead of allowing us to float away. That's Einstein's general relativity, or his general relativity theory of general relativity is the mass of an object. The larger, more mass an object has, the more of a gravitational pull it creates. What they're saying is if you take all the mass of all the objects in the galaxy, it shouldn't be enough mass to keep everything in the galaxy where it's at. Everything should just be poof, flying out in all different directions. But it's not, which makes them say there has to be something in this space that also creates gravity because it has mass. We just can't see it. Interesting. So, two possible explanations. There is more stuff or matter that we don't see with our telescopes. We call this dark matter. And two, Newton's law and even the Einstein's theory of general relativity are wrong on the scale of galaxies and everything bigger. So, yeah, they're saying, well, gravity works, that theory of mass that we just talked about, that works, but only on small scales. Once you get to the scale of a galaxy, it's, all bets are off. We don't know how gravity works then. So that's possible too. The idea is usually called modified gravity because we need to modify the general relativity or modified Newtonian dynamics. Mostly cosmologists believe that the answer is that the behavior of galaxies is explained by dark matter. Why? Partly because it has been very hard to write down a successful theory of MOND, or modified gravity, and partly because it turned out that when we turned our microwave telescopes to look at cosmic background radiation, the light from the early universe, it turned out that according to GR, that's the general relativity theory, the same amount and type of dark matter was also required to explain the behavior of the sound waves that traveled in the universe when it was less than 500,000 years old, and whose imprints we are able to see. See, I don't know how you were able to see the imprints of sound from 500,000 years ago. That's the whole light years thing, right? Where light and time and shit kind of like conjoin and have some sort of fucked up super Einstein baby that I don't understand. So I don't even know what they're trying to say there or how that works, but it's fucking crazy, right? We trust this guy. He knows what's up. Modified gravity struggles to provide a unified explanation across all these systems, galaxies, clusters of galaxies in the universe, but we don't know what the dark matter is made of. Does dark matter have mass? If it exists, then it must have mass. What does dark matter do? The two things we know for sure about dark matter is that it exerts gravity and that it moves slowly. And how do you look for dark matter? They have a couple different experiments. Oh, there it is, particle collider. Ah, see, I know what I'm talking about. I just don't know it when I know what I'm talking about. The Large Hadron Collider smashes particles together at high energies, potentially creating dark matter particles that escape detection but leave behind missing energy and momentum in the collision data. So, LHC is one way that they can possibly create dark matter. Facts about dark matter makes up about 20% of the universe. Ordinary matter is only 5%, and the rest is dark energy. So what the fuck is dark energy then? That's not dark matter. That's a whole nother thing. We can't see it directly, but its gravitational effects are everywhere. Galaxies rotate faster than expected, which is one of the main clues pointing to dark matter. WIMPs and axions are two of the top candidates. Oof. I wasn't able to hit the mute button, but I saved you the burp. No direct detection yet, but experiments are ongoing around the world. Okay, so there is dark matter, ladies and gentlemen. I would show you a picture, but we can't see it, so nothing special there. But it is pretty fucking crazy to think that we are surrounded by some kind of thing, and we don't know what the fuck that is, right? That's pretty fucking wild, man. That blows my mind. So I had to include that just because you always hear about dark matter. You're always like, what the fuck is it? You know, I mean, I don't know. You know, it's one of those things where you just hear the phrase and it kind of goes out in one ear and out the other. You know, you're interested in what's happening on your Twitter and your Tinder and your YouTube. You don't really pay attention to this kind of shit and think like, yeah, what the fuck is dark matter? But one day I just had a wild hair at my ass and I thought, what is it? And I looked it up and it turns out they don't know. So kind of crazy. Certainly goes on the list of unexplainable natural phenomenon. But we're going to go back to Earth for a second to talk about the Amazon's legendary boiling river, exploring a mystery through data. So, as a boy in Peru, Andre Russo heard the legend of the boiling river from his grandfather. Later, as a PhD candidate studying geothermal science, Russo began to wonder, did the river actually exist? This question led him to the river in the Amazon rainforest, where he began a research project that would inspire millions. Throughout his research, Russo has relied on Xylem's YSI handheld meters to sample the river's water quality, gathering data that provides new insights into the phenomenon. So yeah, the river does exist. There's a bunch of pictures pulled up of it, and it's just a fucking boiling. Why are the pictures not popping up? There it is. Okay. My computer's just lagging here. Let's check it out. Yeah, it's just a fucking boiling river. I mean, you know, that's not the most amazing thing in the world, I suppose. It is really beautiful there, though. I mean, this is in the Amazon, right? So you get that, like, Amazon rainforest all around it. You know, it looks like a regular river, except it's so fucking hot. Steam's pouring off it, which is pretty crazy. You wouldn't want to fall down there in that bitch, right? But yeah, this is just one part of a larger river. We'll get down to it. But yeah, the river, this is I think it's the Amazon River, if I'm not mistaken. Just at one point, starts boiling. And they can't explain it. They don't know why it's boiling. But really pretty, though. Look at all that. I mean, you wouldn't want to go there, right? I'd visit Norway before the Amazon. In that one patch of forest, there's probably like 100,000 different spiders that can kill you, and they probably don't even know what all of them are, right? Piranhas over here probably ate a few people before. Look at that. So really pretty, but yeah, you know, even the rivers in the rainforest are trying to kill your ass. So boil you alive. Okay, let's see. What was that? The story Russo's grandfather told him of the boiling river dates back to the time of the conquistadors. The Incas made up a story about a city made of gold, El Dorado, deep in the rainforest. When surviving gold seekers slaggered back, they described the eternal night of the dark rainforest. Shadowy depths guarded by silent warriors with poison-tipped arrows, spiders big enough to devour birds. See, that's why I don't fuck with that place. Clouds of insects, and a river that could boil a man alive. Later, as a PhD candidate in Southern Methodist University, studying geothermal science, Russo recalled his grandfather's tale. A map of thermal springs in Peru made him wonder if a boiling river could actually exist in the Amazon forest. Scientists and oil prospectors told him it wasn't likely, but when he asked his aunt, she said, "I've been there." In fact, his aunt showed him the way to the river's steamy banks. Aunt for the win, right? Fucking all these scientists are like, no, no, there's no such thing. And then his fucking auntie's like, well, yeah, it's just over here, man. A sacred river and a threatened ecosystem. After visiting the legendary river, Russo felt a newfound urgency to spread awareness about it. The forest around the river was still patrolled by bird eating spiders, oh, God, native shamans, wasps, and mosquitoes, but also lumber traffickers and illegal squatters who contributed to the forest shrinking. He witnessed clear cuts and burned stumps spread across the landscape around the boiling river. Russo was in a race against the chainsaws and torches that threatened the river and its ecosystem. Imagine being in this beautiful, cool twilight world of the forest and suddenly opening up and stepping out into a totally deforested, apocalyptic landscape with massive tree trunks as big as your car. Trees that you knew, he says, describing a trip back to the boiling river through newly cleared land. You go to the greatest celebration of life on the planet and you see it go silent. That is kind of crazy. That's probably a bummer to see. Russo's mission to raise awareness and protect the river. After the harrowing trip, Russo, oh, there's the deforestation right there. Look at that. Wow, man, that's fucking crazy. After the trip, Russo put his dissertation research on the back burner and dedicated himself to telling the story of the Boiling River to the wider public. He wrote a book about their journey to the Boiling River, an expedition funded by National Geographic Explorer grant. He gave a TED Talk that has logged more than 2.4 million views, and he has been interviewed countless times about a scientific discovery of a river that the members of the local Amazonian tribes have held sacred for generations. There is a moral obligation to science, Russo says. I learned to be a scientist from Western thought. That's how I was trained. But my seeds of conservation working in the Amazon came from Maestro Antonio Munoz, a Shipibo leader. He opened my eyes and said, "You're here. You're documenting everything. Isn't that enough for you? Is just documenting the destruction enough?" Yeah, so measuring the path and temperatures of the boiling water. Okay, here we go. The boiling river starts as a cold, small jungle stream that grows significantly in volume and temperature as it flows over geological fault zones. With dozens of hot springs and a powerful flow rate, the boiling river in Peru's Amazonian rainforest is the largest documented thermal river in the world. So it doesn't look like it's the Amazon River. We haven't seen a name for it yet. Just the boiling river. Oh, that's probably the name, the boiling river. Okay. For over 6 kilometers, the river weaves through rocks, dense jungle, and thermal mudflats, widening to a peak of about 30 meters and hitting a maximum depth of almost 4.5 meters or 15 feet. Along the way, Russo has measured temperatures ranging from the ambient air temperatures of around 80 degrees Fahrenheit to steaming stretches of bubbling at average temperatures of around 194 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, that would fuck you up. Major stretches of the thermal portion of the river far exceed 116 degrees Fahrenheit, a life-threatening temperature if something falls in. Yeah, no shit. At sea level, water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. At La Bamba, an aggressively bubbling hot spring whose name translates to the pump, Russo measured the river's temperature at 201 to 207 degrees. About 300 meters or 1,000 feet downstream of La Bamba, the river's water temperature peaked at a spring reaching 210. Man, wow. Okay, so researching the river's unusually clean water. Two of the biggest mysteries of the river are the source of its hot water and its purity. The Ashaninka believed the river was the work of powerful spirits. After all, the water is remarkably safe to drink, unlike most other local water sources that often plague drinkers with dysentery, Legionnaire's disease, and other diseases. You could understand why the indigenous people would say this is the work of powerful spirits because it's healthy water. This was put here to heal us. That is pretty crazy. Totally safe to drink. Russo uses, well, I guess that's not that crazy. It is boiling, right? So anything that falls in is dead. Russo uses a YSI Pro Series handheld meter to test pH, oxidation reduction potential, and electrical conductivity for clues on the river's path deep into the earth and back. He also uses the instrument to measure the water from different inflow points along the river and monitor changes over time. I've worked on geothermal systems all over the world, and you wouldn't want to drink most of these waters, Russo says. They can be full of heavy metals, but be highly acidic or alkaline, or even harbor things like brain-eating amoebas. Oh, shit. In the case of the Boiling River, there was effectively nothing in the water. Using my YSI, I found the Boiling River's waters were cleaner, i.e. lower electrical conductivity, than Evian. Evian. Is that a brand of water? Evian? Russo was introduced to YSI's handheld meters at SMU. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's great. The source of the Boiling River's water. The Boiling River is 700 kilometers or 430 miles from the nearest active volcano, so scientists do not believe that the river's hot water is caused by a volcanic system. The Earth's hot crust, however, is the most likely answer. This is supported by the purity of the water, geochemical and geophysical data, geological models, and other research. Russo believes the Boiling River is fed by water that dives deep into the earth, gets heated by the surrounding rock, and is propelled by heat and pressure back through the faults to the surface. Russo has introduced the Boiling River to an estimated 800 million people around the world through his outreach efforts. Despite increased awareness, the Boiling River and the land around it remained the reddest of Peru's deforestation red zones. However, the local community now legally own the land, and the river is listed as a conservation priority for Peruvian conservation groups. Oh, that's good. Though through Rubio's efforts to uncover what was once a legend, the Boiling River is now the center of an active conservation campaign calling for government protection. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so that's the only working theory they have. This fella, Mr. Russo here, feels like that's the most likely. The water is diving deep into the earth. If you follow my cursor, it goes boo deep into the earth, gets all boiled up in here, and then is shot out shot out back up to the river where it's super clean and super hot. So kind of cool though. Interesting. Again, a very interesting natural phenomenon and very pretty too. All those pictures, man, that one's not so pretty. That's a bummer. But very pretty looking river too. So I had to throw it on the list of mysterious natural phenomenon. Even if they don't, even if they don't exactly know what's going on here, they do seem to have a pretty decent idea. Not like dark matter where everybody's just kind of throwing their hands up, right? Or the Hesdalen lights, where they're just throwing their lights up and their arms up and saying, well, fuck it. We have no idea. We're at a loss. This next one, ball lightning. Close to the Hesdalen lights, very similar. They think this might be, or at least this is a part of what the Hesdalen lights are, ball lightning. Yeah, this one I believe is one of those hand tossers. So we're going to jump into this one next and see what they have to say about it. What channel is this? Hold on. Oh, History Channel. Okay.
You know, for centuries, people have reported seeing mysterious balls of electricity hovering in the air. So where do these anomalies come from? And what do they mean?
It's May 2019 near Minsk, Belarus. A man named Andrei Turkhanovets posts a bizarre video. Watch.
That's pretty fucking crazy. I've never seen ball lightning. I'm watching this video for the first time. And that's pretty fucking wild, man. If I saw some shit like that, I don't know. I wouldn't, hugging Molly is still scarier than the ball lightning, but that's pretty fucking crazy. That's mind blowing.
Let's rewind that back. What is that bright blue sphere? And how can it travel across the railroad tracks, throwing off sparks as it moves? The internet's reaction blew Andrei's mind.
It has almost 2 million viewers at this moment.
Some commenters guess that Andrei has recorded a rare phenomenon known as ball lightning. Strange luminescent balls in the air that eyewitnesses have been reporting since the 1600s. Some 19th century accounts claim they smelled of sulfur and considered them the work of the devil. More recently, there was this sighting near a field in Novosibirsk, Russia. This image resembles a phenomenon reported back in World War II. Odd zigzagging balls of light in the sky. Allied fighter pilots dubbed them Foo Fighters.
And it was really kind of universally believed amongst the Allies that this was likely some type of advanced Nazi technology.
I wonder, I'm just curious, the Foo Fighters, is that where Foo Fighters got their name? That would be crazy. How Foo Fighters got their name. I have never looked into that. I always figure they just made some random shit up. Foo Fighters got their name from a term used during World War II to describe strange phenomena or unidentified flying objects in the sky. The name was inspired by a then current comic strip called Smokey Stover, where the character was a fireman or Foo Fighter. I'll be damned. There you go. Wow. I was today old when I found out that shit. I've been listening to the fucking Foo Fighters since I was in high school, and I just now decided to ask, like, how the fuck did they get their name? That's crazy. From Ball Lightning. All right, well, there you go. Fucking wild, man. Learn something new every day. This is the kind of stuff I come here for.
But interestingly enough, when you look at the Luftwaffe, so the German Air Force, they were seeing them too.
To this day, some scientists argue that ball lightning doesn't exist based on how rarely it's seen. So is that what we're seeing here? To kick off our analysis, we went back to our forensic video analyst, Michael Primo.
Primo begins by breaking down Andre's video, focusing not on the images, but the sounds.
I noted that the sounds were up front and didn't sound natural with being in the outdoors. Sounds like something that was added.
Oh, shit. He's kind of right. Yeah, those are really loud. I mean, when it hits the pole, you do hear like the metal tang, but that's pretty crazy. You could easily just go find those sound effects on any sound effects website for free and plug them into a video. Oh, do you think this fucking guy lied? What a dickball. I'm going to be a little upset with Andre if he lied about that.
He concludes that the Belarus video has been edited. Yet he says the other example from Russia has not been. So could it be an example of the famous Foo Fighters?
I mean, that could just be like a fucking spotlight, right? Like you could just have a dude over there with a really bright light on his truck just shining it at you. Just get the right angle and it looks like a big ball of light, right? That's a bummer about Andre, though. I trusted that fucking guy. What a son of a bitch.
McMillan says the ball of light looks similar, but behaves differently.
What's been called a Foo Fighter lasted for a great deal of time and engaged in a lot of maneuvers and stuff that you just don't see there.
So could it instead be a natural weather phenomenon? Atmospheric scientist Dr. Deanna Hens traced the weather conditions in Russia at the time of the sighting.
If you're going to get ball lightning, lightning also has to be generally a likelihood, and I'm not seeing a lot of evidence of either. It does kind of reduce the likelihood that that is a possibility.
However, Hens concedes that so little is known about ball lightning that it's hard to rule out.
It is a very poorly understood phenomenon, and because it's difficult to capture, it's also very, very difficult to study.
So the Russian video might be a genuine example. But when we talked to Andre toward the end of our investigation, he admits he created the dazzling effect in his video with CGI.
I processed
Andre.
the video
What a
on my
dick.
computer with a specialized software.
Though he never thought it would
What a fucking butt. Andre, you shitbird. What an asshole.
go viral.
So our verdict? The Belarus video is clearly doctored. Please, that sound design was a dead giveaway. As far as the other footage, we're going to say it might be genuine ball lightning. But what causes ball lightning remains a mystery. A good reminder to remain as humble as we are curious in the face of the unknown.
Okay, so this phenomenon's a little bit different, where they're not even sure if it entirely exists, right? I did have a article on it, though. We were going to do a little bit more reading ourselves. What is ball lightning, a reality or myth? The mysterious phenomenon has been reported for centuries. Are scientists any closer to figuring it out? A flash of lightning, a thundering boom, and then a curious light floating through the air, illuminating the dark room and bouncing off surfaces. I was so terrified I hid under my blanket, says Millie Drozda, my grandmother, as if that would do anything. It was 30-odd years ago, and she was more than 20 floors up in her Chicago apartment when she witnessed a deeply mysterious yet well-documented phenomenon, ball lightning. People have been swapping stories about ball lightning for hundreds of years. Did you all know this, or was I just left out of the loop on this? Like, I had never heard of ball lightning before I looked up any of this shit. I mean, to be honest, the only thing I had heard of was dark matter and black holes. Those were the only two phenomenon we're talking about today that I did actually hear about. But I was not aware that this was such a big fucking deal, right? Interesting, though. An illuminated manuscript written by an English monk in 1195 may be the oldest report. It describes a sort of fiery globe descending from a storm cloud and falling into the River Thames. Nearly 600 years later, scientist George Rickman was killed inside his St. Petersburg lab by a globe of blue and whitish fire. Oh, really? So you've heard of it in movies, huh? What superhero movies are you watching that have ball lightning in them? TV shows. You do watch a lot of TV shows that I don't. I've watched maybe like a total of 5. Like a superpower. Oh, okay, I get you. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I suppose I've definitely seen that too. That makes sense. Yeah, okay. Well, if you're still, yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know this was like a natural thing that people saw, right? Like, totally get the whole ball lightning in the superhero movies, but was unaware that this was like a phenomenon that people were experiencing since the 1195, which is fucking crazy, right? So nearly 600 years later, scientist George Rickman was killed inside his St. Petersburg lab by a globe of blue and whitish fire that struck his head while he demonstrated a lightning probing experience to an engraver from the Imperial Academy of Sciences and Arts in St. Petersburg. In more recent years, so it killed this dude. Poor George Rickman fried himself with ball lightning. In more recent years, pilots flying through both clear and stormy weather have reported watching flickering balls of light appear in the cockpit and then meander down the inside of the plane. A quick web search will find people in every corner of the internet telling their own ball lightning stories. There's a consistent core of information that people form all over the world, says Carl Steffen, an engineering professor at Texas State University who has been investigating ball lightning for decades. Most often, people see ball lightning when a storm rages nearby, though Steffen says folk rarely see it form. Instead, people simply notice a strange, roughly spherical, white, yellow, red, or blue light drifting in their vision. From there, it may drift out of sight, wink out, or explode. The key things are that it lasts more than a second, Stevens says, and it's not clear where the energy is coming from to make the illumination. These qualities make ball lightning a riddle for scientists, one that some are keen to solve. If ball lightning was easy to make, we would have made it, says Martin Uman, Emeritus Distinguished Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the University of Florida. Uman directed the University of Florida's International Center for Lightning Research and Testing from 1994 until the closure of its triggered lightning facility in 2022. When the center was active, he and his colleagues shot rockets carrying long lines of wire into storm clouds. Oh, that sounds like a very smart idea, right? If conditions were right, the scientists could trigger a lightning strike and study its properties. Oh, wow, that's kind of crazy, though. Ball lightning is often seen by observers right after a lightning strike, Uman says. So some scientists theorize that the phenomenon is created by the material that a bolt strikes. The question Uman's team aimed to answer, what substance generates ball lightning? When Uman received funding from the U.S. Air Force specifically to create ball lightning, he saw it was the perfect opportunity to hit a plethora of materials with triggered lightning strikes. That's funny. That's like all this guy wants to do is just like, let's fucking hit it with lightning, whatever it is. A little goat, a puppy, hit it with lightning, see what happens. Members of his team put out a call asking for test suggestions from every lightning researcher they knew. Over the course of several experiments, the teams triggered 8 lightning bolts, which struck a tower that was stacked with materials such as silicone wafers, and powder, a freshly cut pine tree, a pool of water, and various metal sheets. The researchers even included bat guano in their experiments, for no reason except we had some lying around. That's funny. I don't know what I want to know what they were doing in their spare time with bat guano. Of the 100 or so materials that were struck by lightning, only 4 responded in a way that looked like ball lightning. A flame appeared above a kiddie pool filled with salt water. A shower of glowing particles erupted from 2 silicone wafers. A soft, persistent glow rose from a pine stump mounted in salt water, and a well-defined, persistent glow hovered a few inches above a wet sheet of stainless steel. Of these 4 observations, the ball that appeared over the sheet metal looked the most like ball lightning, Ooman says. Even so, it wasn't quite right. Although the ball did fully separate from the steel plate, it hovered there for only a couple hundred milliseconds before falling apart into smaller pieces and disappearing. That might have been on the right track, Ooman says. I keep wanting to call him Usman, after the MMA fighter. Maybe if we had more money and more time, we could have struck 100 pieces of wet steel with different kinds of lightning, and one of them would have made ball lightning. Who knows? I'm assuming these are pictures of his experiment. They look like pictures from a video game. Plasma is a state of matter in which atoms or molecules are excited to the point that some of their electrons are stripped away. Collisions within the resulting mixture of excited ions and neutral particles and between the plasma and surrounding gases release energy in the form of photons. This emission gives plasmas their characteristic glow, the color of which depends on the chemical species present. Hope you understood that, because I sure didn't. It's above my pay grade. To create a plasma ball, France runs experiments seemingly inverse to Ooman's triggered lightning. Rather than inciting an electrical discharge like a lightning strike from above a watery surface, she sets up a submerged electrode to spark just below the water surface. She discharges a current of up to 100 amps. Not recommended to be done at home, she says with a laugh, which rapidly evaporates and excites a small amount of salt water into a plasma state. When the current is cut off, the plasma rises from the water surface and forms a ball. You see a phenomenon that has similarities to what is reported with ball lightning, Vance says. Specifically, the size and color of the plasmas are similar to those of ball lightning. Vance says her group used spectroscopic analysis to determine that the yellow color that they often observe arises from the sodium chloride in the water. The white light that they simultaneously observe comes from radicals generated from water. Changing the type of salt or its concentration changes the ball's color. What the researchers did not see is the ball hovering or moving laterally like ball lightning. Instead, it rises like any hot plasma and swirls into a loop as it loses its energy, indicating that a vortex forms within the center. Like all plasmas, Vance plasma balls are unable to pass through a piece of paper unless there is a hole to squeeze through, counter to reports of ball lightning traveling through solid walls. Interesting. Okay, how much more of this do we got? Sure. The lifetime of plasma balls is what really fascinates Vance. They persist for about half a second before disappearing, a much shorter existence than what is reported for ball lightning, but orders of magnitude longer than what is expected for plasma, she says. She and her students attribute the long lifetime to ongoing chemical reactions within the plasma balls. Although her experiments lend credence to the idea that balls of plasma can form in lab settings, Vance says they do not prove the existence of ball lightning. Lightning striking a natural body of water is a natural parallel of her experiment, but she points out that the energy from such a strike would dissipate across the surface of the water rather than concentrate in a single spot. She also questions the reliability of anecdotal evidence. For Vance, she'll need to see a reproducible and explainable experiment before she embraces ball lightning as anything more than the Loch Ness Monster of lighting phenomenon. Eyewitness accounts are notoriously inaccurate, but they're not totally useless, says Walt Lyons, former president of the American Meteorological Society. He points to another historically dismissed weather phenomenon, red sprites. These ethereal lights, which look red from nitrogen emission, flash in the mesosphere and stratosphere above storms when powerful positive lightning bolts strike the Earth. For more than a century, people reported sightings of sparks above thunderstorms, but the reports weren't taken seriously. Then, in 1989, a trio of researchers testing a new low-light video camera accidentally captured an image of lights above a distant storm. One of the scientists contacted Lyons, who at the time was running a lightning detection network at the University of Minnesota, to find out whether he could explain the phenomenon. Lyons correlated the video still to a powerful storm and soon went out in search of red sprites himself. On his first night out, Lyons says he caught 250 red sprites on camera. They're surprisingly common. Whether ball lightning will ever be captured reliably on camera remains to be seen, but Texas State's Stefan hopes that by collecting anecdotes, he can piece together the kinds of conditions required to create ball lightning. To this end, he and his colleagues launched an online forum in 2020 to collect reports from scientists. We've gotten about 800, he says. I'm not saying all of them are ball lightning, but certainly a good fraction of them are. Until there's definite evidence of ball lightning, either gathered experimentally or caught on camera, Stefan is content to be skeptical believer and wet blanket when it comes to theories and experiments designed to explain the phenomenon. He recently read a preprint in which the authors hypothesized that ball lightning might be some kind of wormhole. I don't put a lot of credibility into that theory, he says, but it does have that one attractive feature, that if the other end of the wormhole can go anywhere it wants, it might as well show up in somebody's bedroom. Well, so there you go. There's ball lightning, a couple of people with some experiments. And yeah, it turns out with the Pacific Chem 2025, the International Chemical Congress of Pacific Basin Society in Honolulu. Anyways, yeah, that caught my eye because Cutie Pie is from Hawaii. So yeah, ball lightning, they don't know what the fuck it is. They don't know if it's even real. That is at least, I think that's the only natural phenomenon I have on the list where people are just kind of like, we don't even know if that's real or not. Everything else, they know that it's real. They can observe it, but they just don't know what's causing it, right? This might as well, like they said, the Loch Ness Monster might as well, right? So anyway, moving on to one that we know exists. We just don't know what the fuck it does. A black hole. Going back into space here for a second. So black holes are among the most mysterious cosmic objects. Much studied but not fully understood. These objects aren't really holes. They're huge concentrations of matter packed into very tiny spaces. A black hole is so dense that gravity just beneath its surface, the event horizon, is strong enough that nothing, not even light, can escape. Wow, I just realized that too. That's called the event horizon. That must be where the movie got its name. I just watched that movie last week. Anybody out there who's a good sci-fi horror fan, Event Horizon is such a good fucking movie. Super fucking freaky, man. When I was a kid, that shit spooked the hell out of me. But that's where it got its name. I didn't know that's what it was. That's the surface of the black hole is the event horizon. Okay. Anyways, a black hole is so dense that gravity just beneath the event horizon is strong enough that nothing, not even light, can escape. The event horizon isn't a surface like Earth's or even the sun's. It's a boundary that contains all the matter that makes up the black hole. There is much we don't know about black holes, like what matter looks like inside their event horizons. However, there is a lot that scientists do know about black holes. So here's some facts. The nearest known black hole, called Gaia, BH1, is about 15,000 light years away. The most distant black hole detected at the center of a galaxy called QSO bunch of numbers is around 13 billion light years away. The most massive black hole observed, TON 618, tips the scales at 66 billion times the sun's mass. The lightest known black hole is only 3.8 times the sun's mass. It's paired up with a star. Spaghettification. Look at that. That is a word. A real term that describes what happens when matter gets too close to a black hole. It's squeezed horizontally and stretched vertically, resembling a noodle. Really, that's a thing. When matter gets too close to a black hole, it's squeezed horizontally and stretched vertically, like resembling a noodle. Squeezed horizontally and then stretched vertically. Sounds horrible. Spin. All black holes spin. The fastest known, named GRS bunch of numbers, clocks in at over 1,000 rotations per second. Particle accelerators. Monster black holes at the center of galaxies can launch particles to near light speeds. Oh, wow. Gravity is the same. If you replace the sun with a black hole of the same mass, the solar system would get a lot colder, but the planets would stay in their orbits. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Star booms. One type of black hole is born when massive stars run out of fuel and explode in a supernova. And not so rare. Most Milky Way-sized galaxies have monster black holes at their centers. Ours is called Sagittarius A, pronounced A star. Oh, Sagittarius A star. And it's 4 million times the sun's mass. Okay. Let's see. Finding black holes. I think we already... Yeah, we'll hit that video here in a second. Okay, black holes don't emit or reflect light, making them effectively invisible to telescopes. Scientists primarily detect and study them based on how they affect their surroundings. Black holes can be surrounded by rings of gas and dust called accretion dust disks that emit light across many wavelengths, including X-rays. A supermassive black hole's intense gravity can cause stars to orbit around it in a particular way. Astronomers tracked the orbits of several stars near the center of the Milky Way to prove it houses a supermassive black hole, a discovery that won the 2020 Nobel Peace Prize. When very massive objects accelerate through space, they create ripples in the fabric of space-time called gravitational waves. Scientists can detect some of these by the ripple effect on detectors. Massive objects like black holes can bend and distort light from more distant objects. This effect, called gravitational lensing, can be used to find isolated black holes that are otherwise invisible. I think that's kind of like what they're trying to depict right here. So, interesting. Black holes are not wormholes. They don't provide shortcuts between different points in space or portals to other dimensions or universes. And they are not cosmic vacuum cleaners. Black holes don't suck in other matter. From far enough away, their gravitational effects are just like those of other objects of the same mass. Oh, okay, interesting. Fair enough. Okay, so I did have a video on black holes we can go ahead and watch. 5-minute video by Science at NASA. Those would be the people to ask. Oh, NASA, you don't have subtitles, you fucked. All right, well, we're still going to watch the video. Check it out.
Out in space, there are places where gravity's influence is so intense that not even light can escape. These are known as black holes, objects with extreme gravity caused by extreme density that have an extreme influence on everything that gets too close. Often the subject of science fiction, black holes are science fact, but they're often misunderstood, as black holes aren't exactly holes. So let's investigate. What are black holes?
A black hole is an object so compact that not even light can escape its gravitational potential. That's exactly where the name black hole comes from. It's black because it emits no light.
Black holes used to be just a mathematical curiosity, but in the 1950s, 1960s, we actually realized they're out there in the universe. We know that there are black holes that have stellar masses, that are born from the gravitational collapse, from the death of stars. We also know that there are much bigger black holes that sit at the center of galaxies.
The critical thing to remember about what happens with anything that's near a black hole is that black holes don't suck. You can orbit a black hole just as you can orbit any other star or any other massive object. Because there's so much mass in such a tiny volume, you can get a lot closer to all of that mass.
As matter falls in towards a black hole, it starts spinning faster and faster. It will naturally form into a disk. We call it this accretion disk because that matter will accrete onto the black hole. And that disk gets incredibly hot, incredibly bright.
A couple of years ago, we had the first image of a black hole, and that looked like a donut. But the donut was the matter around the black hole, and the black hole itself was just a dark, ominous void at the center.
Black holes have extreme physics going on around them, all sorts of crazy things happening. Your perception when you get very close to a black hole is that time is slowing down.
If a human traveler got too close to a black hole, they would first fall through, feeling nothing, until the point of spaghettification, where they would be stretched into a cosmic noodle.
When a star is passing by a black hole, one side of it gets greater gravity than the other, and so you get this very stretching effect. And so the star can be torn apart. This is what's called a tidal disruption event.
What could be inside of a black hole? The most commonly accepted answer is a point of infinite density that we cannot really describe well. At this particular region within a black hole, all of our theory of general relativity breaks down.
There's all sorts of ways of finding black holes. You can find them from their emission at certain wavelengths, like in the X-rays. We can see them in the optical and the ultraviolet and the infrared. various NASA missions have been great at finding black holes. And then more recently, the really exciting way to find black holes is when two black holes merge, they create ripples in space-time, and you can detect that from gravitational wave observatories.
One big mystery about astronomical black holes is how the large supermassive black holes that exist at the center of almost every galaxy actually got to be there.
Another critical question is really what happens beyond the event horizon. What is essentially inside the black hole? The real reason we want to know about these, as interesting as they are on their own, they are all connected with our general understanding of the physics of the universe.
That, I want to pause for a second. That makes me think of the movie Interstellar. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but that was a good fucking movie where he goes into the black hole, and it's essentially like a fifth dimension where you can bend gravity and time to manipulate anything in the past or the future. I'm burping, excuse me. I just had like a whole string of burps. That's why I haven't been commenting on the video. Y'all are watching about black holes like, oh, that's really cool. And I'm over here like, burp, 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 burp. But yeah, so anyways, black holes, probably the coolest rendition that I've seen of a black hole in media was Interstellar. Had a really interesting, unique idea. I had a plan for a story because I write like short horror stories, and I had an idea for a story where the CERN creates a black hole, because that's something, like I said earlier in the stream, Stephen Hawking is kind of freaked out about, that the Large Hadron Collider might accidentally create a black hole. And if the black hole can gather enough mass, it'll start growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, you know, the general idea was that it would suck in everybody, right? Like, not Stephen Hawking's idea, but that was like my understanding of a black hole. But now that I'm realizing what a black hole does, it's like the story could be so much worse, right? If a black hole formed on Earth and started growing, it would distort time so that everything gets really, really slow, and then start spaghetti noodling everybody, right? You would be spaghettification in, you know, like very slow mo. So slow motion, just your body being pulled skinnier and skinnier. That's terrifying. That's horrible. Anyway, so don't fuck with black holes, right? Kind of like sticking a fork in a light socket. Just don't fuck.
We're seeing black holes bigger than we had seen before. We're seeing black holes that weigh 100 times the mass of the sun. And right now the community's trying to figure out where they're created.
Einstein himself did not think such things would exist. Other people using his theory said we could have things like this, like black holes. And now it's become sort of a bread and butter kind of study on many levels, to the point of us imaging them directly. I think it's one of the great stories of how science works, from pursuing ideas in terms of purely theoretical thought, but then observations coming in and then merging the two to have a better understanding of the universe.
The first black hole ever confirmed, Cygnus X1, was first discovered back in 1964 when astronomers identified high-energy X-rays captured by a sounding rocket. Since then, NASA has launched a number of different missions and studies to further investigate black holes. These have included NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory, the Hubble Space Telescope, NuSTAR, the James Webb Space Telescope, and many more. These are just a few examples of NASA's continued efforts to expand our understanding of black holes. Thankfully, as humans living on planet Earth, we will never be close enough to any black hole, including the supermassive black hole at the center of our own galaxy, to ever be in danger of falling in. I promise.
Okay, well, there you have it. NASA coming with the knowledge, right? So that's black holes, right? We don't know entirely, like, we know what they are, we just don't know what's inside them, basically, right? So that's kind of why I throw it on the list of natural phenomenon, a mysterious natural phenomenon. unlike a lot of things on this list, the Dancing Forest, the Hesdalen Lights, Dark Matter, the Boiling River, they know those things exist. They're just not entirely sure how they exist. They know how black holes come into being. They know that they exist and they can observe them and they more or less know what they are. They just don't know what's inside of them, right? What's past the event horizon, right? Super spooky. It's again, totally makes that movie Event Horizon all that much more interesting. That's so crazy, right? Like I totally sat down to do this stream. Like, yeah, okay, we'll look at some like cool nature shit and then I'm going to get up out of here because I got to eat. I'm still on my diet. I'm a little bit low energy on my diet right now. You know, once you hit a certain point in dieting, you're kind of like, just tired all the time. But I did not think I was going to learn today about how the Foo Fighters got their fucking name and how the movie Event Horizon got its name neither. That's crazy. And on a funny note too, they speak of spaghettification. Funny story. When I first started working, I started working in a recording studio in Denver a while back. I worked in a few recording studios in a lot of different cities, but the first one I worked in Denver, one of my first jobs is I had to go run up to a high school, I think in Boulder, Colorado. They had like a music high school, and I didn't even know something like that fucking existed. It was like a high school where people take regular classes, but then they also get like 2 or 3 hours of like music lessons per day. I didn't even know that was a fucking thing, man. Anyways, I went up there with a whole bunch of equipment to record 2 or 3 bands at the that were in the high school that were not like the high school band, but were actual like rock bands that kids started in the high school. The high school paid for these rock bands to record their first songs, and one of them was called Spaghettification. And I remember him saying like, yeah, spaghettification is a real thing. Black holes do it. You get squeezed or whatever. Totally forgot that that was a thing until I just watched this video. And now I'm totally going to steal that name for my short story. But interesting, crazy how the world works, man. Ramenification. I don't know. I know you aren't a fan of spaghetti, QDFi. You're definitely a ramen fan. But spaghettification has a little bit better ring to it than ramification. Ramenification. That's how you'd pronounce that, right? Ramenification is what happens to you when you come home drunk. You just eat a big ass giant bowl of ramen and get ramenificated. That's what you and you throw up, yeah. Oh shit. All right. So now we're moving on to our last two. We only got about 20 minutes, and I don't even know if it'll take me that long to run through these last two natural phenomenon, so I might break a little bit early. Go get me a little bit of ramenification up in my kitchen. But we'll go ahead and run through these real quick. These two were pretty interesting all the same, so let's jump into them. We're going to stay in space for a minute. Or, well, I guess we're not. We're going to be down here on Earth where something from space has dropped down. A certain mucilaginous, I think they're trying to, put up mucilaginous. There you go, mucilaginous. That's what they're trying to say. A certain mucilaginous, like mucus, substance. What is the mysterious star jelly? Right? This one reminds me eerily of another horror movie called The Blob. I don't know if any of you have seen The Blob. I think The Blob is on its, is it second or third remake now? The Blob. I think it's two remakes. The Blob, that's The Blob. So 1958 and 1988. Okay, yeah, so 2 movies, The Blob. The 1988 version is so fucking freaky, man. Nowadays it's a lot of fun to watch, but I watched it when I was a kid, and dude, it scared the fucking balls off me when I was a kid. There's a scene in there where the blob, well, it's a blob that basically attacks people and digests them alive. And there's a scene where you watch a dude get digested, and it's like, oh man, it just fucking fucked me up, good and proper. See, look at that. This is a scene of them doing the doing the effects for the digesting That would fucking freak you out if you were 10 years old, right? Star jelly reminds me of the Blob. And now I'm wondering, because now I know where the Foo Fighters got their name and where Event Horizon got its name. I'm wondering if the Blob was inspired by star jelly. So we all know what happens when a meteorite breaks apart as it passes through the heavens, right? Of course we do. The parts of the celestial object that fall to Earth and accumulate as a translucent gelatinous substance that evaporates soon after it appears, leaving no trace of its existence. I didn't know that. I don't know. Did you? I had no idea that's what happened. So, while this may sound like a description from a sci-fi story, it is actually based on a very real substance that has fascinated and baffled people for a long time. For centuries, people from across the UK, Europe, and later the US have discovered what has been called astromyxin, star jelly, astral jelly, star rot, or something similar, in fields and marshes. But while it was always thought to be a product of the heavens, the source of this gooey mass has a very terrestrial origin, one that is a little gory. See that? I swear to God, this was this picture right here was inspiration for the Blob movie. A splattering of history. Accounts of star jelly. Astroglide. There you go. Astral jelly, Astroglide, right? It's possible. Get your mind out of the gutter. Come on, Dirty Birdie over here. Dirty Birdie in my comment section. Accounts of star jelly are not rare. In fact, descriptions of the substance have appeared in various sources, from folklore to art to natural histories. Discoveries of the snot-like stuff have been reported by both lay people and learned individuals alike. Yeah, you're an angel. You're a dirty angel, though. All right. So, angels can have dirty minds, too. That's true. In most cases, someone witnesses a shooting star and then stumbles across an unknown substance in a field. Such discoveries usually occur at dawn, and whatever has been found typically disappears soon after. Oh, that's crazy. In the 13th century, John of Gaddesden, a medieval physician, described what he called Stella Terra, star of the earth, in one of his medical texts. According to his writing, it was a certain mucilaginous substance lying upon the earth that could be used to treat particular ailments such as abscesses. So he rubbed that in your fucking wounds. That's exactly what somebody from the 13th century would do. They would say, look at this fucking ball of snot. Hey, I got a cut on my arm. Plop. Totally makes sense. Later in 1619, Robert Flood, a physician and mystic, described a physician and a mystic. This guy's just covering all bases. Describes how he had witnessed a meteor falling from the sky. He searched for its remains and, so the story goes, came across a mass of white, slippery stuff, that Astroglide, containing black dots the next morning. This, he believed, was a shooting star. Similarly, in 1656, the metaphysical poet Henry Moore reportedly explained that the stars eat those falling stars, as some call them, which are found on the earth in the form of a trembling jelly, are their excrement. So this guy says it's star poop. That's his thing. He is, in fact, a metaphysical poet. Henry Moore, everybody. Even in the 20th century, people reported coming across the substance. In several accounts, the jelly appeared to fall from the sky onto unfortunate residents, as was said to have happened in Reading, Massachusetts in 1983. That's a bummer. They got pooped on by a star. Similarly, in 1995, a jelly-like substance was allegedly found in a garden in Oxfordshire, England, and was so abundant that it could fill a kettle. It is even possible that the phenomenon was known to non-European Western people too. During the 1950s, Francis Huxley, the British botanist, reported that the Irubu people of Brazil believed the star sometimes fell from the sky. He claimed to have come across one himself while exploring the jungle. It was soft, blue, jelly-like substance. What the sludge? Obviously, star slime has nothing to do with actual meteorites or stars. We know that most meteors are made of rock and ore, and if any of them pass into our atmosphere, they quickly become superheated. There is no way a gelatinous substance could even survive such conditions. Okay, because that's what I thought they were like actually implying, that this is in fact a fucking star, and I was like, what? Like, that makes no sense. Still, for as long as star jelly has been identified, people have attempted to explain what it is. The more naturalistic explanations, ones that do not involve falling stars, started to appear in the 17th century during the heyday of the scientific revolution. Various individuals associated with the Royal Society dealt with the substance, including Robert Boyle and Christopher Merritt. The later explained how various people thought star shoot could be a fungus, some sort of some sort of ram ejaculate. All right. So sheep cum, or even the leftovers of dissolved frogs, as bones have been found among the jellied bits. Ooh, see, that definitely was the inspiration for the blob. I mean, look, if your cum is that thick, you need to drink more water. Your ram is sick. That's what's happening there. Merritt eventually decided that the jelly was indeed related to frogs and apparently demonstrated that it came from a poor amphibian that had been chewed up by cows. John Morton later reached similar conclusions in this natural history of Northamptonshire. He even claimed to identify blood vessels and pieces of skin within the goo. So that right there is a jellied frog. A cow did that. Grabbed a frog, chew him right up, and spit him out, and that's what you get, apparently. I don't know if I believe that one. You know, I think sheep cum is more of a realistic explanation than a chewed up frog. Over the years, other explanations have been offered, which include the stuff being a byproduct of cyanobacteria, the fruiting bodies of slime molds, or something vomited up by birds and mammals. However, the most likely answer comes back to the frog. So far, we got flesh, we got cum, we got vomit, we got just about everything here. It is probable that star jelly does indeed come from eviscerated amphibians that have been ripped apart and devoured by predators. As this happens, their ovum jelly is released, which then expands as it comes into contact with moisture. Wow, so that is the actual explanation. It's a fucking chewed up frog. Ovum jelly. What is ovum jelly? I don't know if I want to look it up. Safer than looking up ram. Ovum jelly. Zona pellicuta. Ovum jelly, also known as Zona pellicuta, is a complex glycoprotein-rich extracellular matrix that surrounds the oocyte egg cell in mammals. It is not a traditional jelly in the sense of fruit preserves, but rather a specialized layer that plays a role in guiding sperm to the oocyte. So, okay. It's probably okay. Comes from reptiles, amphibians. Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah. Anyone casually examining the gloop might not see any evidence of its former owner, nor any eggs, as they would likely be eaten quickly. So far from being something mystical from the heavens, the mystery of star jelly probably relates to some very unfortunate amphibians. Still, the story of the substance has shown just how curious people are about unusual discoveries like this, as well as the efforts they will go to explain them. Interesting. So that is their posited theory on space jelly. It's a fucking... What did we call it? Is that what we call it? Space jelly? Yeah, star jelly. Star jelly frog. It's a fucking frog. Wow, look at that. That dude was touching it. He was just full on just boop. Okay, grass. According to folklore, it is deposited on Earth during meteor showers. We already kind of read into the history. Theories of fungus that grows on decaying wood. Oh, so this really is the oviducts of amphibians regurgitated by predators. The black object in the lower left corner is a cluster of eggs. Wow, so that really is, I mean, that does kind of look like it, right? It's like a rotten version of that. It could be a gelatinous fungus that grows on decaying wood. Observations of star jelly in Scotland support the theory that one origin is spawn jelly from frogs or toads, which has been vomited up by amphibian-eating creatures. The related theory is that it derives from the glands in the oviducts of frogs and toads. Birds and mammals eat the animals, but not the oviducts, which, when they come into contact with moisture, swell and distort, leaving a vast pile of jelly-like substance, sometimes also referred to as otter jelly. They just got all kinds of crazy names for this shit. Scientists commissioned by National Geographic Society have carried out tests on samples found in the U.S., but have failed to find any DNA in the material. Thomas Pennant in the 18th century believed the material to be something vomited up by birds or animals. Nostoc, a type of freshwater blue-green algae, forms spherical colonies made of filaments of cells in gelatinous sheath. When on the ground, it is ordinarily not seen, but after rainfall, it swells up into a conspicuous jelly-like mass, which is sometimes called star jelly. Interesting. Okay. This is the fructification of slime mold. false puffball slime mold? Slime molds. Okay. It could be some form of a slime mold. And they seem to be constantly happening wherever there's meteors, which is where it got the star jelly acronym. There's Henry Moore, the poet, says it's star shit. So there you have it. We have no idea what it is. They have a whole series of theories. The most common ones is it's the oviducts of frogs and toads vomited up by other animals after eating the toad, poor toad, some form of a slime mold, or it could be some kind of an algae or a fungus, but they don't honestly know. Pretty crazy, right? That one got me. I have never heard of star jelly. But that myth behind it just sounds so much like, see, look, there's the blob. Star jelly, the mysterious phenomenon that inspired the blob. Boom. I fucking said that. I called that shit. I wish there was just more people here to watch me be right. Once again, the mysterious phenomenon that inspired the blob. Thank you. Thank you. I will take my fucking bows. I totally called that shit. Totally called it. That's crazy. I never knew that. Today is the day that I figure out where the Foo Fighters got their name, where the blob, what inspired the blob, and where Event Horizon got its name from. That's so crazy. Wild. Yeah, thank you. You did not know all of this. Don't take my thunder away, Cutie Pie. You did not know this, all right? Oh, you just wanted me to discover it for myself, right? All right, fair enough. Well, I discovered it and was excited about it until you decided to come in here and wreck my party. It's pretty fucking crazy though, right? That's so wild. I didn't know. I don't know. Do you listen to the Foo Fighters? I'm not a huge Foo Fighter fan, but I've never, I've listened to them since I was in high school, and I never knew that's where they got their fucking name from. The blob thing, I totally called that as soon as we were started. I've never seen that movie or heard of the Foo Fighters. You've never heard of the Foo Fighters? Oh, interesting. I got to give you some Foo Fighters. You've definitely heard the Foo Fighters. You might not have heard of them. That's common. I do that all the time, right? I'm like, I have no idea who that fucking artist is, and then somebody will play their song, and I'm like, oh, I've definitely heard that song though, right? You've heard that song. How's it go? There goes my hero. Watch him as he goes. You've heard that song. There goes my hero. Come on, that was like so classic when we were in high school. Everybody heard that song. That was like playing all over the internet, the internet did exist. It was playing all over there, playing all over radio stations. You've heard that song. Yeah, and you are really bad with names. That'll drum your memory, yeah. You're too funny. That's hilarious. For everybody watching, she says I should try flexing my muscles while singing it. That'll jar your memory a little bit, huh? Being objectified every time I get on here. Objectification. Yeah, all right. Okay, so there's Star Jelly, everybody. This last one, fairy rings is this last one. Here, I'll show you some pictures so you know what the fuck it is. This is a fairy ring. So supposedly, this is a thing that actually happens where mushrooms will grow in rings. They will, different sizes of rings too, it looks like, but this is a natural phenomenon that actually does happen. Look at how distinct some of them are too, like full-blown circle. But they don't know why. They have no idea why certain mushrooms grow like this. So, yeah, I remember telling you about this, Cutie. This one you've probably heard of before. I remember hearing of it at some point in time too. I remember talking to you about it and you being like, oh, I've heard of fairy rings. So look at that one. Some of these you can almost feel like maybe people like went in there and picked the mushrooms. Like there was a whole bunch of mushrooms here and they just picked them until it made a perfect ring, right? But yeah, interesting. So this is what a fairy ring is. We got a short video to watch about the fairy rings, so Let's check it out, see what SciShow says. Whoa, 8 million subscribers. Damn. Wonder what the fuck these people are doing to get so big. All right, let's check it out, see what they have to say. Oh, here, let me swap you over to the YouTube screen.
A few weeks ago, I was walking through the park, and I came across something kind of weird, something that I could not immediately explain. And when that happens, it's usually...
This guy kind of looks like the iDubbbz fella. That's like all over the internet right now getting shit on because he just made like some really cringe, what was it called? Content Cop. That's it. He used to make the Content Cop videos back in the day, and he just came back in his like 40s, and the internet's laughing at him because, you know, he's 40 years old and trying to do Content Cop still. This guy looks exactly like him. Could be a dead ringer.
Usually pretty annoying for me. It was an arc in the grass of greener grass, about 10 feet long, as if someone had very carefully spread fertilizer along a curving stripe of the park. And once I saw it, I started to see more, dozens of them spread across the park. One of them was even a full circle. When I find something just hanging out in the park that I've never heard of and I can't explain, that's frustrating, but thankfully I have Google, and SciShow has a lovely, helpful audience because now I have the answer: fairy rings. Maybe you've seen one of these yourself, an arc.
He absolutely looks like iDubbbz. You don't even know who iDubbbz is, okay? You're horrible with names, cutie. You just said this. I just want to point this out. Scientific evidence here. I'm really bad with names. And then he does not look like iDubbbz. Did you actually used to be an iDubbbz fan? I mean, I remember when he was a thing. I never like really got huge into his Content Cop stuff. But, well, go look up a picture of iDubbbz right now. That guy looks like iDubbbz right now. Do you? You follow him on IG. So you've been seeing him getting eaten alive on the internet nowadays. But that totally looks like iDubbbz. iDubbbz with different hair and glasses. He's got the same skinny white face. I don't know. I can't explain it. I guess that's... But that's quite a... He's close enough. He's close enough. You know what? I'm going to bring you back here. All right. You go back to the other screen. Oh, you could be. I don't know. Yeah, I was going to say, you're horrible with names, all right? Not like I totally don't think you know who iDubbbz is. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Nice. I like that reference. Yeah, I mean, I'm not doubting you. You very well could know who iDubbbz is. But again, up here, let's just point it really bad with names. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. I think you know who iDubbbz is, but you got somebody completely different. I mean, do you know the Content Cop? You've heard of that? Does that ring a bell? Content Cop? He doesn't seem like he would be... Yeah, see, he doesn't seem like he would be the kind of thing you'd be interested in. Content Cop was a skinny white dude named iDubbbz. Back in the day, used to... Well, we can just throw up a video. Well, I don't know why I need to explain this to you when I can just show you. Like, what am I doing over here, right? That's why I got the interweb for, yeah? Okay. Here you go. There was one really funny iDubbbz clip that I'm thinking of. iDubbbz, I'm gay. This clip was pretty fucking funny. This was a big one back in the day. This was famous.
Jump down, and then say some fucking gay shit. I'm gay.
That's pretty funny. Okay, so yeah, you know who he is. Yeah, everybody remembers that clip. 1.6 million views. That's on Bing, though. No, you're good. I don't care if we get off topic. Not to bother me. You know, I like to sit and bullshit when I'm on stream anyway, so don't worry about that. So that is the guy that you're talking about. How does that guy... Hold on, we need to go back. I mean, he's in it. You are the type of person that would think this right here is cute. Which I don't know what that says about me. So, but yeah, okay, never really watched his content. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if his content is your kind of content, because he did a lot of funny skits. Okay, hold on. We gotta look at that. You're telling me those don't look alike? Look at that. Look at that. That's almost the exact same face. Telling me they don't look alike. They could be brothers. But yeah, he was really edgy content back in the day. That's a bad picture of him. Oh. Pfft. No, yeah, there's other pictures where he doesn't look like that, right? Like that doesn't look anything like that guy, right? That's him with the mustache, right? So the dude used to have like a mullet thing going on. Yeah, like right there. You think that guy's cute? What does that say about me? Oh, with a mustache. Okay, well that makes a little more sense. Yeah. No, that's I think for the majority of the time, iDubbbz had the mustache going on. I don't know, because there was a lot of his videos where he looked like that. That's how I remember iDubbbz back in the day. See, look at that. Look at that. I mean, the nose is a little different. Skinny white boy with the glasses. Has the same thing going on, yeah. But anyways, so yeah, that's iDubbbz, and this is definitely iDubbbz's twin brother. I'm pretty sure that oh, well, thank you, cutie. You're so sweet. Just need to put that up there. More handsome than iDubbbz. Well, yeah, I mean, hey, at those days I had pretty bad taste too, so I can't talk too much shit on you there, right? That's crazy, iDubbbz though. That's so wild. Just when I think I know everything about you, you just come out here like, oh yeah, iDubbbz, I know him. Like, what? That blows my mind. I mean, again, like you said, he didn't watch his content. His content back in the day was funny, but it was super edgy. It was super duper, like, well, mean-spirited, I guess. But it was funny. He was a really funny dude back in the day. That dude made me laugh my ass off. I wasn't like a super duper fan. Like, I didn't watch all of his videos. But the Content Cop videos, they made me laugh. Like, he was definitely a funny guy. But it was very edgy humor, where he used to make fun of people on YouTube way fucking hard. Like, if iDubbbz made a video about you, you were going to get raked over the coals, right? But, still, nowadays, not so much. Nowadays, he's the one kind of getting raked over the coals, which I think maybe, karma, right? If you made a name for yourself, raking other people over the coals, I feel like the universe is going to realign, and the karmic winds are going to come and bite you in the ass, right? So let's watch Temu version of iDubbbz here. Talk about fairy ring.
Arc of greener grass, or an arc of deader grass, or even weirder, a perfect circle of mushrooms. Before we had science, people thought that these might be portals between worlds. If some weird nuisance was occurring in the village, it was likely caused by elves or fairies coming into our world through fairy rings. But alas, this is not the case. And I've already given you a hint as to what they actually are. The key players here are not some elven mischief makers, but fungi. The most common fairy ring mushroom is the Scotch bonnet, and like most fungi, the bulk of its body is its mycelium, and it's underground. The mycelium is kind of like a subterranean tree with thousands of fine branch-like structures that grow outward in a circle. As it expands underground, the mycelium releases chemicals that break down organic matter in the soil nearby, so it has food by the time it grows there. And since by doing that, it's basically fertilizing the soil as it goes, the grass above the leading edge of the mycelium for a short time has more nutrients available than usual, which creates rings of rich, thick green grass. When the mycelium reaches the enriched soil, though, the party is over, because the fungus then absorbs all of the nutrients out of the soil and the grass above it dies. And it's at this point, as the fungus matures, that you see the stuff that you probably think of when you think of fungus. Mushrooms begin to sprout, which are actually known as the fungus's fruiting bodies. They're like the fruits of the tree. They generate and release spores that the fungus uses to reproduce. In some cases, unless there's some physical barrier to stop it, a fairy ring can grow for years and cover huge areas. One fairy ring in France was measured to be some 600 meters wide. It's important to note now that fairy ring can also be used to describe a different phenomenon. Redwood groves can also grow in something called a fairy ring, but they're completely different, caused when shoots sprout up from the base of a fallen tree. In the deserts of Namibia, meanwhile, grasses have been found to grow in rings caused by sand termites that live underground. The termites...
Oh, that's kind of cool. That's crazy to see. Look at
spread out in a circle, eating the roots of all the grasses they come across. This helps the soil retain water, which nourishes the grass at the perimeter of the circle. Sometimes it can feel like science is poo-pooing the mystical and the fantastical, but in my opinion, there's more depth of beauty in the fantasy of the real. That giant fungi reach in circles underground with
the fantasy of the real. That sounds like some hardcore.
600-meter diameters, converting detritus into fertilizer, forming themselves, altering their environment, and interacting on a global scale to form part of this beautiful and complex web of life. But
I feel like portals to different dimensions is way cooler, bro. Just gotta say.
Are entitled to your own opinion as well. Thanks for watching this episode of SciShow. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter, and of course down in the comments below. And if you want to continue getting smarter with us here at SciShow, you can go to youtube.com/SciShow and subscribe.
All right. Well, there you go. That's the explanation for fairy rings. Turns out they do actually know what they are. When I was looking that up, people didn't have no fucking idea what fairy rings were caused by, or what caused them. But apparently this guy knows. So yeah, we're gonna go with Temu iDubbbz there. We're gonna go with his theory, which just sounds like it's not a theory. I mean, that makes sense. That's how the mushrooms grow. That's just how they do, man. It's just what mushrooms do. This particular strand of mushroom just grows in a circle because of its roots. So, very anticlimactic ending to the show, I must say. But that's where we're at. I am getting hungry. Time to go get... Oh, I didn't get that burp. That just came out of nowhere. So, anyways, let's hop back over here. All right, so that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode of Wildlife Wednesdays and Mysterious Natural Phenomenon. We'll go ahead and say I meant to end it on a phenomenon that wasn't so mysterious. I did that totally on purpose. Let's see. Tomorrow is Conspiracy Theory Thursdays, and I'll be going over the Denver International Airport. So if you're watching this live, tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. for some really fun conspiracy theories. I fucking love the conspiracies about the Denver International Airport because I grew up in Wyoming. That was the nearest airport, or the nearest meaningful airport, big airport, and went to Denver all the time. DIA is a pretty awesome airport, and yeah, I remember seeing all these sculptures and all the artwork and all the crazy things that turned into conspiracy theories later on. So got a lot of interesting stories about that, and then a lot of funny, interesting videos to watch on it and all that good stuff. So if you enjoy conspiracy theory type content, then tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. for that. If you watch this show on YouTube and you actually watched it all the way through, congratulations for sitting through 2 hours of me burping and talking about mushrooms. I appreciate you doing so, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, please give this a like and subscribe. And consider coming and visit me on Twitch, and you can come and watch it and sit and bullshit with me and Cutie Pie while we talk about crazy things like this. But in the meantime, I hope you have a good rest of your night. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys later. Peace.